First thing I want to do is I want to make her chin her full chin, because she's got one hell of a chin. Let's give her a schnoz, because she needs a schnoz. She's got a heck of a honker. Get the barrel of the mouth going. Give her some cheekbones. I think that jaw is probably going to set back a little more than that. And remember, she has no head at all. We want to keep taking that skull down. She's really a face. Really, more than almost anything else, she's a face. Right? And then the neck is really, really long and really, really thin. I am really digging her little pointy, tiny chin. I think she's got to have pretty radical cheekbones. And a big mouth, huge full mouth. Just hoping you guys can see what I'm doing from two angles. And I'm right on top of stuff here, so. Okay. All right. I'm really defining her mouth because it's going to be a really defining part of her. So I want to place it, and I want to decide what it's going to be, how it interacts with the rest of the face. Pretty quick right now. I still don't like the fact that she has no jaw on this side. I want her to have a really hollow, high cheekbones. I think she needs that. Hollow, high cheekbones. Both in front and in profile. I want her to have a strong chin. Yeah, she is coming right together here. I'm pleased. So far, so good. Very happy. Very, very, very happy with her. I think she's coming right into the right directions here.
I couldn't stand it anymore, so I cleared off my bench. I think it looks a lot better. So let's see about these cheekbones. Let us see about the height of these cheekbones and how that's going to work. And let's work down this side of this mouth. I do want hollow cheeks, but at the same time, I do want her to have a strong jawline. We're getting there pretty close to it. Chin is way off center, but that is easily repaired. Now let's do the other side to match. Humans are supposed to be bilaterally symmetrical, but they're not. They are only superficially bilaterally symmetrical. What do I mean by that? That means that, yeah, we have a left and a right hand, yeah, we have two eyes on either side of our face, but if you look carefully at what people actually look like, if you look carefully at the shape, the subtle shapes of their eyes, their ears, their fingers, any part of their body, you will see that they are surprisingly different. Adaptations can make you bilaterally asymmetrical. Consequently, I just don't bother much with symmetry. I think we can begin to think about what we're going to do about this nose. Let's dig out the nostriloids so we just get a sense of where we're going with that. And then we can kind of build up the nose, build up the bridge of the nose and the nostril wings. Right now, I don't know, this nose is looking a little normal to me. I think it may change over time, but right now it's looking a tiny bit anatomical. We'll see where it goes. Just going to shape up the sides of the face, shape up the jawline, and see what's what. Yeah, I think I need to dig out the nostrils a lot more, and I also think I need to flare the nostrils out more. She's got a really huge nose in the sketch. I think that's one of the things I kind of liked about her. So I'm gonna see about enlarging it. Let's go ahead and flare these nostrils out. Yeah, looking good, looking good. Yeah, I'm liking the way that looks. Let's see about eyeballs. How big are her eyeballs going to be? That is a good question. And should they be like these freaky bulging eyes? Again, this is another place where we will avoid symmetry like the plague of Egypt. Like the plague. We don't want it. Won't have it. Do it like this. Always an interesting question of, do you sculpt the details in the eyeballs themselves, the iris, the pupil, and all like that? Or if you intend to cast this thing and paint it in resin, is it better to paint those details on? Because the eyeball itself, of course, is just a perfectly smooth sphere. So you can make an argument that the best thing to do is not to put the details in the eyes. She's also looking up, but that's okay because she'd probably be on a table and I want her looking up at people. I do want her looking up at people. Now I think I'm going to work on this eye a little more, get it to look at least superficially like the other eye. Not too much, but just, yeah, get it shaped up, get it worked over. I really like the tool I'm using right now. One thing about clay tools, they are specific to the job. Like, for instance, the tool I'm using now, this wire loop tool, is a really handy tool for exactly what I'm using for, sort of digging and gouging underneath forms, rounding under, creating concave forms. Works like a champ for that. But it's also useful for even carving like flatter areas, like this eyeball. This is not at all a concave shape, it's a convex shape, yet you can carve kind of flats like I'm doing here with it. You can carve convex shapes, smooth things out. It's just a really versatile tool. I really recommend that you make your own tools. Many of the tools I have collected, I bought, but a lot of my most used tools I made myself out of nails, wire, dowels, pencils, you name it, just stuff you find around the house. Great thing about making your own tools is it allows you to experiment and kind of figure out what works for you. And also you don't spend much money doing it. They're simple and easy to make, and they work really well. So I'm just going to kind of add this little piece in there. Of course, the most important tools of all, your fingers. It's just amazing how much of the actual sculpting you do just by touching the piece and rubbing and smoothing and cleaning with your hands. So it's all about your fingers and your hands. Yeah, looking good. Let's keep pushing and pulling. That's all you do. Here I'm just smoothing out. I find too that the somehow the fingerprints on your hand, on the tips of somehow your fingerprints leaves nice kind of smoothing marks on clay. And that works out pretty good. Kind of push and shape the nose, work it out, kind of make it flare out more, make it even bigger and kind of more extreme than it was. The original sketch, she has a really strange kind of nose, and I'm trying to figure that out in 3D. Get some more clay built up on these cheeks. I feel like all of her forms could be a little bit more exaggerated, a little bit more extreme. So I think I'll build these cheekbones way up and out so they're more prominent and kind of the more you push the forms, the more you're able to build in sort of emotions or some sort of exaggeration which enhances the emotion of the piece, or that's the idea anyway. So we keep pushing and pulling. Now maybe it's time, I'm thinking, to start to think about these ears. Get them roughly positioned and roughed out, rough into shape. It's funny how something as simple as ears completely changes the sort of overall look at the sculpt. Same with the hair. When I put the hair on, it's going to completely change the sculpt. And it's strange how that is, but that's the way it is. And same with the ears. Ears are one of those things that sort of complete the head. Here, this tool I'm using is just really useful for gouging out material, just as I did there. Very quick and easy way to rough out shapes. Get the other ear in place. It's kind of welded on by smoothing the clay together, blending the clay with the head. Kind of flatten out the wing shape and establish the sort of rough form of the ear. Do that first. Do the work from big to small. Work from the big shapes to small shapes, from large forms to details. Otherwise, what happens is you put in some details and then you realize the overall size or the overall shape is no good, and then all that work you put into the details is lost. So you don't want to do that. So generally speaking, most artists work from broad to fine shapes and masses onto details. All right, so now take a look at her. Let's see, going to work. I feel like these eyes aren't extreme enough. Having sort of pushed forms around, I think that these eyes are not open enough. I think I want to make her eyeballs bigger, more bulging maybe, more open, like more bug-eyed, more surprised or dismayed or whatever. Just make her eyes bigger and more extreme looking than they are, more cartoony. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to push this clay around and see if I can work that out doing that. Yeah, so I'm liking that better already. I like that a lot better. Gives her face more expression. You have to look for places where you find emotion, like do you leave the sculpt really rough and really leave a lot of your tool marks and a lot of your tracks behind, and make it rough and sort of expressionist that way, or do you keep working it and smooth it out and make it more naturalistic? Either way, you have to, again, it's all about your intention and what you're trying to do. So you keep pushing, keep experimenting, see where she goes. I kind of let the thing flow and see where it takes me, with the problem that, of course, I might completely fail and come up with something that's, not very interesting or just crappy. Quite frankly, might just really suck at the end of the day. But to me, it's just more of an adventure. It's more of a process. I like to push and pull and see what happens. And at the end of the day, of course, you don't do this with commercial work because you got to get the thing done on time and it's got to meet the expectations that are set forth in the job. When I'm sculpting for myself, my expectations are to do an exploration and see what happens. See what I come up with at the end of the day. See how much the piece participates in dictating how it turns itself out. Kind of. It's like a dialogue between me and the thing that I'm building. The thing is kind of, there's accidents along the way. There's just things I discover along the way. There's all this kind of thing that happens while the sculpt gets made. Sometimes I feel like I'm just a bystander. I'm not I'm not really in charge of things. The sculpture or the painting, whatever it is I'm making, seems to have its own life and seems to dictate to me what should happen next. It's like a series of accidents or things that happen. Anyway, it's a process that keeps me engaged. It's a process that keeps me interested. I like the feeling that you could always really sink or swim, and I don't get bored. That's good. I'm feeling like this video is long enough, and we should continue in the next one. So we'll wind it up here. I appreciate your watching. I appreciate your hanging with me all this time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.